Picture a task manager open on a clean machine. The memory bar sits at 14.8 gigabytes used out of 16. And look at what's actually running. A chat window, a text editor, a music player. That's it. Nothing is downloading, nothing is rendering, nothing is doing anything you asked for. The fans are spinning anyway. This chat application is, right now, holding around 2 gigabytes of your memory hostage. To do nothing. To wait for you to type a sentence. In 1969, a computer with 4 kilobytes of working memory flew 3 men to the moon and brought them home. That 2 gigabytes is roughly 500,000 times what landed on the moon, spent to render a line of text. The easy answer is that programmers got lazy, that the app is just badly written. The easy answer is wrong. The waste isn't a bug. It's the architecture. And once I show you what's actually living inside that window, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Your code editor, your music player, your password manager. There's a ghost on your machine. Here's the thing nobody tells you when you install a modern desktop app. You think you're opening a program. You're not. You're opening a web browser, a full one, with the address bar sawed off so you can't see it. Most of the apps people live in today are built with a framework called Electron. Electron's pitch is simple, almost seductive. Write your app once, in the same HTML, CSS, and JavaScript you'd use for a website, and ship it as a desktop program. So when you launch Slack, you are not launching Slack. You are launching an entire copy of Chromium, the same engine that runs Google Chrome, and then loading Slack inside it, like a web page that never lets you leave. It's the engineering equivalent of bolting a jet engine to a shopping cart. The engine is magnificent. The job is to move a cart 3 feet. And every one of those apps brings its own jet engine. Open 5 Electron apps, and you're running 5 separate, complete copies of a web browser. None of them aware the others exist. Why would anyone build software this way? Not out of stupidity, out of incentive. I call it the architecture of laziness, but the laziness isn't the engineers, it's the organizations. A company has one web team. They already know JavaScript. Electron lets them ship a Windows app, a Mac app, and a Linux app from that one skill set in a fraction of the time. From a manager's chair, the math is obvious. Developer time is expensive and scarce. Your RAM is free, and it's your problem. That's the trade at the center of this story. We optimized for the speed of building software and quietly agreed to pay for it with the health of every machine that runs it. The ghost isn't malicious. It's the shape of a decision nobody on your side of the screen got to vote on. Before we open the body up, picture the thing that probably brought you here. Back in December, a developer posted a screenshot. A brand new laptop, around $1,700, and 13 of its 16 gigabytes of RAM already gone before they'd opened a single file. Slack, Discord, VS Code, a Note app, all just sitting there idle. The caption was 3 words, "Is this normal?" And the answer is yes, it's completely normal. The more interesting question is who decided it would be. So let's open the body up. Launch one Electron chat app and look at your process list. You won't see one process. You'll see a small colony of them. Each of those is a piece of a web browser doing browser things. A GPU process, a network service, and one or more renderer processes, which are literally web pages being painted in real time. But the memory is only the symptom. The deeper cost is what's stacked between you and the silicon. Picture every layer between pressing a key and that key reaching the processor. You press a key. Before that keystroke does anything useful, it travels up through your JavaScript, into V8, the engine that compiles that JavaScript on the fly, through Chromium's layout and rendering pipeline, across its process boundaries, into the operating system, and finally reaches the processor. Every floor in that building is doing real clever engineering, and every floor costs you something. A little memory, a little heat, a few milliseconds of latency. No one floor is wrong. The waste is emergent. It's what happens when nobody is responsible for the whole stack. And there's a name for the discipline we abandoned to get here. Quick note before we keep going. If you've ever wondered why hardware 10,000 times faster than a generation ago still leaves you waiting, that's the root of all of this. I took it apart in another video. 10,000x more power, still slow, here's why. Think of that one as the theory. This is what the theory looks like running on your machine. Now we know what the ghost is made of. The more uncomfortable question is how we invited it in, and why we keep feeding it even after we can see it. There's an old idea among engineers, borrowed from racing. A great driver doesn't just steer the car. They feel it. The phrase is mechanical sympathy. In software, it means writing code that knows there's a real physical machine underneath it. Code that respects that memory is finite, that the cache is small, that every layer of abstraction is a tax. Native code written in C++ or Rust gets compiled down to instructions the processor speaks directly. No browser in the middle. That's how a native text editor can open instantly in a few megabytes, while its Electron cousin spins up a browser to do the same job in a few hundred. Mechanical sympathy didn't die because of a villain. It died because it stopped being necessary for the people writing the software. When the machine is fast enough to hide your inefficiency, sympathy becomes optional. We didn't lose this skill overnight. We traded it. Every time we picked the framework that shipped faster over the one that ran leaner, we cast a vote. Which brings us to 2026. Memory prices spiked. There were reports this past December of mainstream apps holding gigabytes of memory while idle, right as the price of that memory was climbing. Discord, for one, has been patching these memory leaks since October 2025. 9 separate fixes, and peak usage dropped about 5%. That sounds like a win until you sit with it. The ghost is still there, still using hundreds of megabytes while doing absolutely nothing. 9 fixes barely moved it. That's how deep this goes. 16 gigabytes used to be a power user's flex. Now it's the floor. Not because your work needs it, but because the software needs it just to stand up. We don't upgrade our machines to run faster. We upgrade them to keep pace with the ghost. The pushback has already started. There's a movement you can call local first and natively compiled. Build the app to run on the machine in the machine's own language, instead of wrapping a website in a browser. Toolkits like Tauri take the same web skills developers already have. But instead of shipping a whole copy of Chromium with every app, they lean on the rendering engine the operating system already provides, and put a compiled native core underneath. Same app, a fraction of the footprint. If you build software, every time you reach for the default, you're casting a vote. Choose the tool that respects the physics of the machine your users own. And if you just use software, you're allowed to be annoyed that a chat app eats 2 gigabytes. Demand is the only signal the industry actually listens to. I'll be honest with you, I've shipped Electron apps. I made the same call everyone in this story made. Developer velocity over machine health, because it was faster and nobody was going to stop me. The ghost on your machine might be something I helped build. So I'm not pointing at anyone. I'm describing a thing I took part in. 4 kilobytes of working memory went to the moon. 2 gigabytes can't comfortably hold a text box. The difference between those two numbers isn't progress. It's everything we agreed to waste in between. Silicon is finite, but our capacity to waste it seems limitless. The ghost in your machine isn't haunting you, you're feeding it. The first step to exercising it is just seeing it, and now you can't not. If you want the root of all this, why a machine 10,000 times more powerful still leaves you waiting, that's the video called 10,000x more power, still slow, here's why. Watch it, and this case study stops looking like a complaint and starts looking like a diagnosis.